My name is Julie. I'm a mother of three. Charlie is 8, George is 6, and Rocco is 3. Life in my house with 3 boys is that there's always something going on. There's always someone upset, someone's happy, someone needs something. And I just feel at times I'm just spinning in circles, just trying to, get what they need or answer questions or, just take care of them. It's chaotic. Everything is done to keep the chaos to a minimum. So when we wake up, there's no questioning, there's nothing. So they wake up, they put their clothes on, they know to go brush their teeth, they go downstairs, they eat, and we're done. I want them to have a lot of structure. I think children crave structure. Charlie is the typical older child. He's very responsible, wants everything by the book. George, who is 6, my middle, he's more of a comedian. He's very carefree. And Rocco is your typical 3-year-old who is just running around crazy. We're just trying to, right now, teach him how to behave. The dynamic with the 3 of them and their age groups is kind of tricky, and we have to be careful because here we are trying to be very strict with the way they behave and teach them manners. And then we have this 3-year-old who he is our youngest. He's 3. He does a lot of funny things that could be taken as crude or just disrespectful. But I feel like our discipline on him is very light compared to what it was with Charlie especially, and then George. So Charlie, my oldest, and George, my middle, are looking at him act a certain way, and they don't understand, well, why isn't he being reprimanded like we are? The fighting in my house, the matchups are usually between my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old. They'll be playing baseball outside. They don't like the way one's pitching to them. They'll throw the bat. They'll get upset, like things like that. That's where most of the fights are. And then another match would be my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old, but never the 8 and the 3. The most difficult thing about raising children, I'm finding, is getting a balance between keeping them happy, giving them freedom, but also keeping them in line and giving them and having strong boundaries. The discipline style that I've chosen, I feel, is successful, is just being very direct and raising my voice to restore order in my house. If there's any act of violence, such as hitting or punching, that's when I lose it. I can't stand that. And that's when I immediately go into yelling mode, and then I will bring them inside and separate them or separate the one who I witnessed assaulting the other. I will put them in a timeout for about 20, 30 minutes, and then I will go upstairs and speak to them sternly and explain to them that, you cannot hit your brother. It's ridiculous, and get kicked out of school if you ever do that to anyone else. And then I send them back down and make them hug and act like they like each other, and then that's it. One thing that doesn't work is talking to them about their feelings and taking the approach, what is it that's bothering you? Tell me what caused you to act that way? That does not work for me at all, and it doesn't work for them either. I think it almost empowers them. My husband's style of disciplining, I would say, is he's very calm and not as, I guess, volatile as I would be. I feel like he will try to talk for a while with them and try to explain to them and reason with them about why they misbehaved and why they're in trouble. And the boys probably like him better for speaking to them in a certain way. But I'm sure my husband will look at me sometimes and say, you were really tough on them. And then I'll look at him and say, I don't think you were tough enough. The boys, they choose to play with boys. Our grade has a lot of boys in it, more so than girls. But in my family, they have mostly girl cousins, so they enjoy that too. It is just like a mini vacation if a girl is over playing with the boys. I mean, they just want me to sit up at our table. They sit down. They're like talking. There's no fist throwing. It's just really, really pleasant. Versus when boys come over and it's just just how active can you be? What can we do? And it's just like a lot of running up and down the stairs, switching, interests really, really quick. And then which one of my sons is having the child over, they start to get very possessive and they don't want the others involved in the play date. So then they start excluding them. And then the ones who are excluded start acting out and then come up to me every 5 minutes and tell me how they're being left out. No one's playing fairly. I'll say work it out because I want them essentially not to drag me into everything. I want them to work it out. And then there'll probably be a lot of tears and crying and maybe a couple of things being thrown against the wall. And then I'll just bring them all up and I'll separate them. I'll put one in one room, one in the other. I'll give them 10 minutes just to like calm down. And then it's amazing how that works. And then they reconvene and they're fine. You know, they're usually in the basement playing and I'm not involved. And then the friends leave. And then I go down to the basement and it looks like we had a fraternity party there. I get very upset. And I talk to them very sternly about respecting your home. And even if the other children are doing it, the guests, then you have to explain to them, we don't do that. We don't jump on the couch. We don't rip apart the cushions. And if it's you, you should know better. And then I just make them clean it up. And I say, I want this room to look like a hotel when I get back down here. And then that's the end of it. I don't feel like they should be rewarded for good behavior. I feel like you should always be well behaved. Because then every time they do something good, they'll say, well, what's my reward? I'll be giving them rewards for the rest of their life. For example, if we go to a friend's house and they act, if they're well behaved, I'll say, you all were really well behaved there. I'm really proud of you. But I would never say, here's an enormous ice cream cone because you guys were just fantastic. I feel that Charlie is aware of what's right and wrong. I'm confident with his decisions. I mean, of course he's going to make mistakes, but I'm pretty confident. George could be led to the dark side in about 30 seconds. George, my middle, he's more of the risk taker, and that's how I was. And Rocco, I think he's picking up right from wrong. He knows, like, if I ask him to stop doing something, he'll stop. This is on occasion, of course, but he's getting there. I have such a small window of opportunity to teach these boys as much as I can and try to control them for when they are on their own or I'm not with them as much now. When I think about the future, I just want to raise really well-rounded, respectful children and to be really secure and confident. That's what I feel. And it's going to be a challenge. I know it is. You know, there's so many outside influences that you just can't control. And I feel like right now, I feel like I have so much control with, who they play with, where they are, what they do. And slowly but surely that's going to go away. And then that's going to be the challenging part, is keeping your eye on them and knowing everything and hoping that they do make the right decisions. One thing that my husband and I would like to learn about would be, as they get older, how do you manage them? Little kids, little problems. But when they get older, there's going to be big problems. And you're going to have to deal with them in a completely different way. It's going to be tough. And that's probably what I fear, I could say, in the future, is how do I deal with the big problems that are going to come across? When you get into peer pressure, when you get into, hanging out with the wrong crowd or making smart decisions and staying out of trouble, that's going to be tough. And just, confidence and just instilling confidence in them so they do make the right decisions. Because I think if you have confidence, you have everything.